Welcome back to Geek Channel 8. I'm Eric.
And I'm Rosie.
Today, we're going to talk about a film from 1958 that was set in 1874 called Blood of the Vampire.
My nephew Khalil graduated from high school, so we're real proud of him. It looks like he's going into the military, but we don't know what branch yet. My partner Rob and I just celebrated 10 years together.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Think we're going to be planning a party for it. We haven't planned very well for this anniversary, but I think we're going to be planning a party. We actually started watching Your Honor. I think it's on Netflix. It's been a while since I've watched a series that actually put its claws in me and made me want to watch the next episode immediately, and this is one of them.
Oh, wow.
I have a thing for crime dramas that can be a little off the cuff and twisty, and this is definitely it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So I have a book group that I go to from time to time, and it's a science fiction book group. And we were reading the book A Memory Called Empire by Arcady Martin, I think is who it's by. It's one of the more recent Hugo winners, and I'm a little skeptical about modern Hugo winners because the award is not what it used to be. It was like the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, the Hugos were just, there was hardly a bad year. The 90s, 2000s, 2010s, they haven't, especially since the new millennium, it hasn't been quite as good. Also, it featured like a testimonial from Anne Leckie, who wrote Ancillary Justice, which won the Hugo. And that was like one of my least favorite books that have ever won the Hugo Award. I pretty much hated that novel. So I was skeptical, but I read it and I liked it a lot. It reminded me a little bit of Dune. There's an empire and all sorts of politics going on, and it's a space opera. But I'm a slow reader, so these like meet once a month type book groups, it's like hard to finish the books on time. I knew that was going to be a challenge with this because I didn't decide to even do it until after a week or two, and I wasn't making fast enough progress in it, so I decided to listen to the audio book version. As it got closer and closer to the deadline, I was like, "Oh no, I'm not going to make this." So the last day today, before the book club, I like was listening to it at like double speed, and I made it through, and I went to the book club meeting only to find out it was canceled or postponed for a week due to us supposedly having tornadoes in the area.
Oh.
And this is not like when I used to live in Ohio. Like, tornadoes is just a thing that happens all the time there. Tornadoes
Mm-hmm.
never happen here, so everybody freaked out and this was just a tornado watch, not a tornado warning, and everybody like freaked out, and so there was no meeting, and I was like, oh great.
It's like we're not in Ohio anymore.
Yeah.
We would have had the meeting, and then if the tornado came through, we would have just gone to the basement because that's how Ohio rolls.
Yeah, I think the book meeting would probably continue just in the basement.
Yeah.
A Memory Called Empire, which I did like. I liked the book. All right, let's jump into today's movie.
Out of 1,000 nightmares it comes. Out of the darkness of evil itself. This story of the doomed and the damned, who live forever in a world of fear within 4 closed walls of stone.
You can curse the fates that sent you here. This is the abyss, bottomless pit of hell itself.
Starring Donald Wolfett.
I'm Dr. Callistratus.
A man resurrected from the dead.
You were confined to prison for attempting to do something that no one has ever done before. Transfuse blood from one being to another. Now, you must have believed in what you were trying to do. I, too, believe it can be done. Here we shall attempt to do it together.
Vincent Ball as the doctor forced to help with the macabre experiments of a madman.
How much have you taken?
Nearly 2 liters.
You must be mad.
Barbara Shelley as the woman he loves, who risks her life to learn the truth.
You mustn't stay here, not for a moment. If Callistratus finds out who you are, tomorrow you must leave. Make some excuse, anything to get out of here. Then go straight to the authorities, tell them what you know.
Escape or die. No one yet had left this place alive. No one yet except Callistratus and the hideous hunchback who shared the horror that was forever part of this hell on earth.
I'll fix the rope. Hurry.
We just got done with a whole bunch of Dracula films, so I thought the best way to bridge the gap to the 1870s, 1874, since we're a bit of a history podcast, we like to pick a year in history sometimes and explore that, and that's what we're doing here. So I figured Blood of the Vampire would be a good one to do because it's kind of related. It's a nice bridge into the 1870s. What can you tell us about the year 1874?
Okay, so in 1874, New York City annexed the Bronx. Levi Strauss received the patent for blue jeans and the copper rivets that hold them together nowadays. The San Diego Natural History Museum was founded. Sigma Kappa was formed at Colby College in Waterville, Maine, and it was founded by 5 women. They were the first 5 women to attend the college, and they petitioned the college to create the sorority, and hence that began. Now, 1874 also fell during the Reconstruction era, the Gilded Age, and the Depression of 1873 to 1879.
Hammer Films, the UK studio, had a smash success in 1957 with The Curse of Frankenstein. So a rival studio, Tampion Films, they hired the writer of that, Jimmy Sangster, who had just completed writing The Horror of Dracula for Hammer, which hadn't yet come out yet, but they figured they'd hired Hammer's screenwriter to do a screenplay for them, and he came up with Blood of the Vampire. So shooting took 4 weeks, which is super fast. I don't know what the ratings are. It's X in the UK. I don't know what the rating system is in France, but in both countries, no one under 16 was allowed to see it. Their main goal, though, was to produce films for the secondary American market, specifically drive-in theaters. The film came out over time in a bunch of different countries. It premiered in London on August 26, 1958. And then it didn't open in the US until October of 1958. And then in Germany in December of 1958, in the Netherlands in April of 59, France in 1960, Japan in 1960, Spain in 1966, Sweden in 1969, and later in other countries. This usually means there aren't that many prints of a film. When it has to release like that, they don't have enough prints to go around, so they have to like release it slowly over time. There is a village scene, which is basically a model. And the model of the village is the exact same model that was used for the film Henry V.
Oh, wow.
If you see the shot of the village, that are the same. That's about it. The only other notable thing about this film is that in 1978, it became the first horror film released on VHS.
Oh, wow.
So it will go down in history for at least that.
That's fun.
I wasn't planning on doing a lobby segment this week, but I figured this was worth mentioning. So we'll do a little bit of a lobby segment.
Show starts in 8 minutes.
Today we're interviewing a stomach.
Hello there.
What is life like as a stomach?
Oh, boy, it was humdrum. I mean, until what's-his-name discovered Tony's Pizza.
Tony's Pizza?
Yeah, I was suffering from the pizza cravings until Tony's came along. Crispy crust and zesty sauces. Wow.
And so now... What's that?
Another pizza craving. Just thinking about Tony sets it off.
Oh, where are you going?
He's going to get a Tony's Pizza, and I follow him anyway.
Does your stomach send you pizza craving signals? Oh, wow. Tony's, the Pizza Cravers Pizza. Available at the concession stand.
According to an ad, which still exists today, there's scans of it you can see on the internet, the Moonlight Drive-In in Smithtown, Pennsylvania, listed this as a new movie, so it hadn't shown there before. On the 3rd of August, 1960, ran a dusk until dawn triple feature. Blood of the Vampire was the first movie. Revenge of Frankenstein was the second movie, and Beast of Hollow Mountain was the third movie. And as a promotion, attendees whose tickets ended in 13 were treated to a Dracula buffet luncheon, which consisted of Dracula's blood cocktail.
Oh, wow.
Which we did in a previous episode, the last episode, I think. So if you want a recommendation for pairing for this film, I would recommend the Dracula's blood cocktail mentioned in last episode. The luncheon consisted of Dracula's blood cocktail, deviled zombie snacks, crispy skull chips, devil fruit, voodoo spirits, and a werewolf tail sandwich. So, whatever that is, we know what the Dracula's blood cocktail is, so that's my recommendation for a pairing for this film.
There you go.
The film opens in 1874, where an executioner stakes someone through the heart who is accused of being a vampire. Immediately afterward, there's this hunchback that shows up and digs him back up and takes him to a disgraced drunken doctor and has him perform a heart transplant on the body and brings him back to life. And then the hunchback kills the doctor that performs the surgery.
I wasn't sure what to expect when the movie began, because I kind of went in thinking that this was another traditional vampire movie like we had seen before. So I wasn't really sure what to expect or what to think after the opening.
It then flashes forward to 6 years later. John Pierre, a doctor, is convicted of malpractice leading to manslaughter when he performs an emergency blood transfusion. Remember, this is the late 19th century, so blood transfusions were a new thing. The first blood transfusion was in 1818, actually, a while before this, but it definitely was still not a common practice. Anyway, the patient died. His fiancée, Madeline, was present when he was sentenced to life imprisonment in a penal colony, which he is sent to initially, but then one day he gets transferred to a prison for the criminally insane run by a Dr. Callistratus. Callistratus basically tells him that he had him transferred so that he can help him with his blood typing research so that transfusions can be done more safely, especially those for what he calls a rare and serious blood condition is what he's trying to treat. That's all we know about that. I will say that blood types weren't discovered until 1901, more than 20 years after when this takes place. The doctor said that the patient's death was unavoidable, and he wanted the judge to talk to Professor Meinster in Geneva. And the judge wrote to him, but Meinster replied that he didn't know John. While all this is going on, Madeline, his fiance, goes to Meinster and and they find out that what happened was,
Yes, a letter did go to the judge to plead his case, saying that he wasn't responsible for what happened.
but they never saw it because Aron, who was working for Callistratus, intercepted it and forged a reply.
So meanwhile, John Pierre's future is hanging in the balance. He's still stuck here at this weird penal colony with this
In Transylvania. Yeah.
in Transylvania with this weird warden performing weird experiments.
On the other inmates who,
May or may not be living.
well, a lot of them die from as a result.
Mhm.
And the place is guarded outside by, I think they're Dobermans
Yeah, they look like
with cool
Dobermans.
spiked collars.
Mhm.
And then his cellmate, Kurt, convinces him that there's, he's got a secret way out. And they do that, but Kurt is killed by the Dobermans. And Callistratus tells Madeline when she comes to see him that he was killed in an escape attempt. She
Right.
doesn't believe it. So she takes a job as a housekeeper there to
Mhm.
investigate.
And it didn't take long for one of the guys to try to sexually assault her.
Yeah.
Of course, because she's so pretty.
The hunchback actually tries to save her.
Yeah, that's when Callistratus takes her. After this happens, Callistratus walks in, understands what happens, and then he takes her down to his super secret lab, which is attached to the lab that he's been working in with Jean Pierre. And he goes down there, and here's the guy who sexually assaulted her tied up, and he was like going to show her how he was basically going to kill him.
He chains her up. He decides to perform an experiment on her. And Carl, the hunchback who saved her once already, tries to save her again by refusing to do this. But Callistratus just shoots him and straps her to the table and wheels out Kurt.
Yeah, who we thought was dead. We thought the Dobermans had killed him, but no, they just severely maimed him, and Callistratus was keeping him alive for experiments.
He lost 3 of his limbs and he had 1 arm. And he tells John that Callistratus was executed for being a vampire because of his work with blood, and he had used it to put himself in a state of suspended animation. And then once he got a heart transplant and was revived, but the side effect is that he has this rare fatal blood condition they spoke of earlier where the blood cells attack any other blood cells that are transfused. So he needs constant transfusions to stay alive. And he's drained all the blood from a number of inmates. And now he's planning on transfusing Madeline's blood into Kurt. I guess so they can keep using Kurt. I don't know why. That part was
Yeah.
unclear to me. Kurt does have 1 arm and manages to grab Callistratus's arm. And while they struggle, it moves close enough to John that he's able to knock Callistratus unconscious with what freedom in the chains he has. And then he's able to get the key and free himself. He then frees Madeline and takes Callistratus hostage and forces him to let him go. But Carl, who survived Callistratus's shot, frees the hounds and dies after being shot by the guards. The hounds basically kill Callistratus.
Right. It was interesting to see a vampire movie where the vampire doesn't actually kill somebody by biting them.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty interesting, and it was a different way for somebody to become a vampire. Usually there's this weird backstory to it that's based in religion somehow, and in this case he became a vampire by a heart transplant.
Well, he's not a vampire in the supernatural sense. He's just a
Right.
guy who drains people's blood.
Yeah.
So
He's vampire adjacent.
the villagers, of course, thought he was a vampire because he was, draining people of blood, and they staked him through the heart because of it. So he's got that in common with a vampire. He came back from the dead, so he's kind of got that in common with a vampire. You know,
Mm-hmm.
lives in a creepy castle, happens to be an insane asylum, but whatever, that kind of works too. So he's got a lot of vampire like stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really lying when it's called Blood of the Vampire. It's
Hmm.
a twist when you find out he's actually
He's
this mad scientist.
right, like a vampire mad scientist. Yeah.
I thought that was cool too. It was pretty well done for a B movie that was shot in 4 weeks, but there are some things that didn't work also, like the makeup with the fake eye and all of that on.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the fake eye looked so fake. I just kept waiting for the whole thing to fall off of its face.
Yeah. Apparently that was makeup was it was also really painful and gave him headaches, the
Aw.
actor. It was really weird when he first sees Madeline. It's almost like he knew she was there. He was trying to escape and then like saw her through her window. Then she like throws a rope down to him. He climbs up in, you know, ends up hiding.
And then there's the mirror.
Yeah, yes. Carl sees him in the mirror, but doesn't tip off the doctor that he's there.
Right. Of course, when I was watching the movie, I wanted to call Carl Igor. You
Yeah,
know, and I mean, I'm glad he had a name. And I'm glad he actually ended up being a good guy and didn't die. Because even though he was shot, he still came back and still kicked a little ass toward the end of the movie. Um, and I also think that Madeline was actually a really smart character. She's like, yeah, bullshit, my man's not dead. I'm gonna go find out what's going on. And so she's like, I'm gonna get a job as a housekeeper and find out what's going on. And boy, did she. And in a way that saved him too. So
yeah,
she's kind of like
definitely.
an unsung heroine in the movie.
Yeah, she definitely saved him. Overall, it's definitely a B movie. It's not a good film, as in not great, not not particularly good, but it could still be fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I can see why it was popular at the drive-in. It's that
Mm-hmm.
kind of movie, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, totally a fun drive-in movie.
Okay, let's wrap things up here. What I wanted to say is that this year we are asking everyone to tell 2 people about the show.
Not one, but two.
Not 1, but 2. Ask 2 people to listen to the show. If you want to, communicate directly with us, you can by email. We're GC8 podcast. That's letter G, letter C, number 8 podcast at gmail.com. Until next time, this is Eric
And this is Rosie.
signing off.